G'day, I'm Steve. Welcome to the workshop. This is Woodworking Masterclass and part 2 of making a plate rack. So I finished off shaping the other one of these. So if I used a template and did these in a router, obviously they would be identical. But because I'm doing it by hand and a spoke shave, there are slight variations. But what I want to do is minimise the variations as much as I can. And then with a pencil, they're pretty close to being the same. Just draw, and that's 3 lines. So now what I can do is put those in the vise. Now I'm going to try and match those up using the spoke shave. If you don't have a spoke shave, use rasp or a round file, or worst case scenario, get a cork block and just round over the edge. Then you can do this and that'll guarantee pretty closely the same shape on both pieces. But I'll go ahead with a spoke shave. It shouldn't take too long. So now that's the 2 ends. So I'll put those to one side for the moment. What else I did was, out of that bit of timber, I just ripped the shelves and the 2 back supports. And as you can tell, they're longer than I need them. And they're a little bit wider at one end than the other, so I'm going to have to plane that nice and flat. As a matter of fact, I think I'll go about 920. I said I'd keep these at 900, but the reason I'm going a little bit longer is because I'm going to have to hand plane this, and I don't want to get any snipe from the hand plane, so that extra little bit at the end will give me a clean cut. And normally I would do a knife cut and then lead in with a chisel. In fact, I'll do it anyway. It's good habit to get into. The reason I wasn't going to is because I've got 2 tenons to make on this end. So if I didn't do the knife cut and it's rough sawn, it doesn't matter because I'm going to be taking away that top layer anyway to create the tenons. But, as I said before, it's good practice. Now when you're taking this slice out, always make sure you're on the waste side. So I'm cutting this little piece here off, so I'm going to slide the chisel on the waste side of my cut line. Because if I go on this side, then I've actually marked the board that I want to keep. Now that gives me a nice little fence from the saw to sit up until it can sit on its own curve track. Turn it over. Just join those 2 cut lines up. And there we have it. So I said I'll measure 920. On the waist side. And I lead in with the saw on the front and then gradually bring it back so I'm getting an even cut all the way along. Then lean it at the back. Now I'm fine. Now what I'm going to do first is just flatten one side. So then I know I've got a true side, I know I've got a straight edge here, and then we'll take a measurement to see how far we're out. It's only about a mil or so. Alright, so that's nice and flat. So as you can see, that's all nice and clean, and it has got a fair bit of figure in it. So now I'm just going to measure this end. That's 13/16, about 21 mil. This end's 20 mil, or 3/4. So that's a 1/16 of an inch I've got to take from here to here. So what I'll do, grab a marking gauge and I'll set this at 19 mil, or 3/4 of an inch, if you prefer. So I'll use this as one face. I better put that mark in again. And this, and now I'll just mark a line down there. I think we'll go over this edge too, and this edge, and down here. I've just got to plane down to this line on this side, and this line on this side, and then it's going to be at 19 mil, and we've got a nice flat square board. That's actually got quite a bit to come off yet, so what I might use is a scrub plane to start with. If that's a little bit too aggressive, I'll go over to what I call a hogging plane. Now if you have a look at the blade on the scrub plane, you can see it's pretty aggressive and it rips huge amounts of timber out. Whereas the hogging plane, which is basically a number 4, but I've just got the blade and ground a bit of a round on it. That's not quite as aggressive as the scrub plane, so I might try the scrub plane first, see how close I get to the line. Yep. You can see the big sort of tracks that it leaves. But it does remove stock very well and very quickly. As you can tell, there is no finesse with this plane at all. Now I'll do a bit with the hogging plane. Creeping up on there quite well. Couple of long shots, there we go. Again, you can hear the hit and miss as you're going over the corrugations of these two planes here. But we just want to get back to flat again. Just this edge along here needs to be done now. And then we're right. So I might have just used a smaller plane on that. I'm right on the line all the way along. Now what I've got to work out is where I'm going to put a slot down the front. I need the slot so the plate isn't just sitting on a flat bit of timber and can slide off. So it's got to be a recess. Now, by all means, if you've got a router, use a core box bit. You could even use a square bit. You could do this on the table saw. If you've got carving chisels, you could use a gouge, maybe a 920 or something like that to clean it up. But what I want to use is the old-fashioned moulding planes, rounders and hollows. These are the hollows. I think that's the right way. I always get confused. If they make a hollow, they're hollow, but they're round. Go figure, I don't know. Anyway, I'll call them hollows. I've got a number 8 and a number 4. And what I want to do is put the initial hollow down with the number 8, and then I'll put a slightly deeper one in with the number 4. And I'm going to set a fence up. I might just get rid of some of these shavings too, I think. I'm impressed, nothing's been broken. Look at Bob, he's over it, aren't ya? Don't you love shavings? Much nicer than sawdust. All right, so what I've decided is I'm going to have this channel about 40 mil in from the front of the shelf. So I'll set my marking gauge up at 40 mil. Just score a line right down the middle. Now it doesn't matter if I'm marking this because I'm going to plane it out anyway. All the way along. And yep, this board is still about an inch oversized, so that's okay. Now, got to get a straight piece of wood. I'm going to set this fence up. So this can run all the way up. What I'm going to do is start at this end and just take little shavings to start with and work my way back as I go. So what I'm actually doing is building a trench as I go. And I'm getting deeper here as I start out new ones here. Now I've got to start on that. I don't need this fence anymore. Now what I'm going to do is change over to the narrower one, which is a number 4, and put a deeper gully in there again, but I want it on the front of it. So I'll lean the plane into it a little bit. And there we have a nice groove that the plate can sit in. While we're in the mood, we'll do the second shelf. What we've got to do now is work out where we're going to cut the tenons. So we've got to make sure that the tenons are going to be thick enough to go through these sides. The reason being, I'm going to put wedges on it and I'm going to decorate this side so it's going to come through. If we're about 1 millimetre proud coming through, we can clean that up later on. So that's it. Next time we'll start cutting tenons and doing some mortising. Now, it might not appear that we did much this session, but in fact we did. We covered a lot of different hand planes, a lot of different hand tool techniques. There were scrub planes, hogging planes, shooting planes, smoothing planes, spoke shaves, moulding planes, rounds and hollows. So I hope some of it is of use to you and you can use it. But by all means, if you like power tools, whack a router, dock it on a drop saw, put it through a thicknesser, and it's going to be a lot quicker for you. But next time we'll be cutting the tenons and sinking the mortises and start to actually set up the rack. So this is Steve pulling the shed door down and saying, oh, please, if you like what we do, go to Patreon and see if you can help out, because we'd really appreciate that, wouldn't we, Bob? In the meantime, this is Steve pulling the shed door down and saying, remember to keep it sharp, but more importantly, keep it safe and enjoy your woodwork. Bye for now. I use what I call a hogging plane, if I could.